Time now for our morning's full French newspaper press review with Nicholas Rushworth, who's here in the studio with me. Hi there, Nicholas.
Hi, Catherine.
I imagine that there's going to be a lot of talk about the hostage crisis in Algeria in the newspapers, the same as in our news reports.
Indeed, that is the top story for all the French press. I can go straight to Le Figaro, which there you can see l'Algérie, la prise d'otage tourne au drame. So the hostage seizure, as we've been hearing, turned to drama, and a photo there of Algerian military with guns targeting jihadist fighters. Libération very quickly has this dénouement sanglant, a bloody denouement, with a Google map there showing the gas plant in the east of the country lost in the desert. You can see all that sand there. And Aujourd'hui en France, this is the headline for the third main paper in France. Alger a choisi la force. So Algeria not negotiating and going right in there to attack.
And that is something that's proved very controversial, hasn't it? We've heard a lot of the governments around the world saying, why didn't Algeria consult with us before it went in with force? Talking about that in Aujourd'hui en France as well?
Yeah, Aujourd'hui en France, Le Parisien is asking that very same question. Why did the Algerians do this? Pourquoi Alger a donné l'assaut? And it argues that there are two reasons for this. Number one is that coded in its DNA is national sovereignty. It does what it likes, and it responds with extreme firmness. Firstly, because of the extreme brutality of an 8-year civil war with France, and then afterwards in the 1990s, a horrendous civil war in which 150,000 people were killed. Now, it responds with extreme firmness because the military is programmed, it says, to respond in this way extremely violently. And the quote there that stood out for me, too bad if that leads to a diplomatic row with the United States and the United Kingdom.
And another reflection on Algeria's stance in Le Figaro, they're pointing out Algeria never negotiates in these kind of situations.
It never has. It's never negotiated. There's no history of it doing that. Quite the opposite. And Le Figaro, in one piece inside the paper this Friday, says gives a list of various examples, and the one that it mentions first is the Serkaji massacre in February 1995, an uprising of Islamist prisoners brutally crushed with 100 dead. Now, there you can see that article, La lutte sans fin d'Alger contre les terroristes. So it's a decades-long conflict, and they have never talked. Turning to Libération, its editorial is saying that there is an implication, of course, for this, for France's military intervention in Mali. The quote there in the editorial, which is entitled Rupture, is that there can be no successful outcome in the battle with the jihadists in the sand in Mali without the constant, determined and active participation of the Algerian regime, bearing in mind its decades-long history as an authoritarian regime. Now, the rupture, pourquoi? Because for Libération, there is a before and after with this Algerian hostage seizure. In fact, we're at a turning point in Franco-Algerian ties, and part of that, as we've seen in the last few days, is Algeria agreeing to let France use its airspace, but wants to be quite low-key about that. But that's an indication of a change in ties.
Yeah, Algeria certainly resisting for quite a long time any sort of firm involvement in this kind of thing, haven't they? Staying with Mali then, a piece in Le Monde about the intervention there.
Well, this is about we're actually focusing on the violence, aren't we, to do with people and the horrendous bloodshed. But look at this. We've got UNESCO crying an alarm bell saying we've got cultural heritage in danger here. And there you can see one of the 4 sites in Mali, which shows an animist building next to a grand mosque. And it shows that there's been a history of tolerance in this part of the world, in the Islamic community, and the jihadist fighting now is being highly intolerant and is not historically the way it has been.
Okay, an interesting different angle on that story. Thanks very much, Nicholas Rushworth. You'll be back later with the international papers as well.